I'm Teneale.
And I'm Kelsey, and we're financial advisors from Allman Partners True Wealth, bringing you thought-provoking conversations around you, your money and your life on the Wealth Experience podcast. Well, welcome back to another Wealth Experience podcast. Today, Teneale and I are joined by Kayla Batiste. She is a BDM at Macquarie Wealth Distribution, and we're really happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here, ladies.
Yes, it's an exciting day for us all, and you've come straight up this morning, yeah?
Yes, 5:40 flight, so definitely early bird gets the worm, that's for sure.
That's the way. We're looking forward to getting into it.
Okay, so most people, everyone listening would have been familiar with Macquarie Bank. You work in the wealth division, so we thought, given our industry that we're in, it would be really good to have a conversation with you around all things to do with, I guess, platforms, but also yourself as a working mum and all of those wonderful areas as well. So thank you for being open to the conversations today. So as I'd mentioned, you work full time, you're a mum of two. How do you juggle the success of your career and your life? I feel like this is a really common question that women really need to speak about.
Yeah.
How do you make that work?
It's a great question, and I think everyone's going to have a different answer as to how they manage that work-life balance. For me, I just don't see it as 50-50 a lot of the time.
It's not a balance.
No, it's, 70-30 some days or 30-70 the other way.
Or 100-0 when you're having those days and the kids are like, come on, I need you to just stop now.
Yes, absolutely. I feel it comes down to, I'm very fortunate to work for Macquarie, which is a flexible workplace. And my leader has 2 kids of her own, and she's very understanding of commitments outside of the workplace. So if it's athletics carnival or my son just had a school dance, being able to attend that during work hours. Fortunately, it seems like school hasn't caught up to a working parent's life.
Who made those hours?
So as my son's begun prep this year, that's been my latest challenge, is working around that 9 to 3 balance versus, the benefits of daycare hours.
Absolutely.
Which I took a little bit for granted, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the village just needs, we always talk about that village, and it's got to kind of be in the workplace as much as it's got to be at home.
That's right.
And having to manage your expectations and priorities and communicate that, some days I'm like, I'm so sorry, I haven't been able to do all this. And my partner's like, that's okay, whereas in other days I'm like, all right, the kids are at their dad's, I'm just going to clean, So it's just managing, and we were talking a bit about this earlier, but it's like, it's okay if the kids just eat chicken nuggets for dinner. My job as a mum is to just feed the kids.
Yes.
If they lick a vegetable, that's
They'll be fine.
So I think it's just managing that self-expectation, because I think there's a bit of mum culture sometimes, and we just put so much pressure on ourselves.
Definitely.
But I think everyone's killing it who's, whether you're a stay-at-home mum, whether you're a working mum.
Yeah.
Being a parent in its own right is just hard.
That's right. It reminds me, just the other day at my son at Leo's school, they had sports carnival, and it was a series of bad events for me because first of all, I didn't pay enough attention, and I sent him in his sports colours the day before when they had a half day on, so he's turned up to school as the only kid in a sports uniform, sports colours. And so I've done the race home, get the shirt, go back, get him to change it because he was not feeling okay about it. And then the next day I thought, well, okay, we've got this 1 hour slot where he's going to be doing shot put, because he made it into shot put and he was so excited about it, and usually he doesn't qualify for things. And so that day I've had a look at the time slot, and he's the oldest kid in that division, that area, that theirs was, I expected to be the later one, right? So I thought, okay, as long as I get there during the first part of it, I'll be fine. And so I've pulled up actually on time, but gone running into the school and thinking, no, I'll get in there as quickly as possible. Lucky I did. I turned up just as he was doing his second throw. And for a moment there, this mum guilt came over me, and I went, how can I have missed the first throw? And then I thought, no, come on. We talk about this all the time. You can't be everywhere all at once, and you've gotten to be here, and he's happy that you're here, and that's, we can't take those things for granted, can we? That we're all trying to do our best in any day.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And I think workplaces are getting better at coming to the table with giving women the flexibility, and not just women, men as well, to be able to do those things. And it's trust on both sides, right? It's kind of going, well, we're going to give you the freedom and flexibility to be able to leave early or go to things that are important to you, but the expectation is on the other side that you still got to do your job. And I think that's where it gets hard, because yes, you get the flexibility sometimes and you can make it to these things, but the repercussion then is, well, you're working in the evenings or you're working at the weekends. So I think that's where it gets hard.
The compromise, right?
That's the compromise, yeah.
We can't have it all, can we? Can't have the cake and eat it.
You can, that's right.
So then tell us a little bit more about you in your personal world. What makes your world go round, Kayla?
It's so funny. I think about this question. I'm like, what does make it go round? I feel I'm quite simple. I think of it as I live in a bit of a bubble, but I'm quite fortunate to do so. So I really love, things like cooking and getting the kids involved into my activities. I'm so excited because the kids can both proficiently ride their bike, so it means I can run at the same time. So, managing exercise into just that day-to-day activity. So,
what's your best dish then? So
if you ask the kids, it's probably spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
All kids say that, right?
But I actually love baking more than anything, and I love anything with dough. So I love making breads and getting
self-sourcing puddings.
I haven't done that. No, but I just love baking, like cakes. I get really involved in doing the kids' birthday cakes. I had a little mishap last time, put way too much food colouring, so everyone's teeth looked blue on my son's Sonic cake. But I love anything I can get the kids involved, or where, we were talking a bit about this before, but that cooking, but not under pressure.
Yeah.
The Monday to Friday cooking, diabolical, but if you've got that free time, you can dedicate and just work in your space, and that's really nice.
Oh, that's lovely.
But outside of that, exercise, I do love it. I just find that mental clarity that comes with it is just so intoxicating, and that consistent ability to set goals. I got into running probably about 2 years ago, and I just love that ability to go, I can run a little bit further this time, and it was a lot easier, or my time was better, and there's that rush that kind of comes with that. So I really enjoy that.
What sort of distance do you get to now?
10K is my max.
That's good.
And I have no desire to do more than that.
Can you translate to how long do you spend running consistently? That's what it registers in my brain. How long are you spending running?
My last 10K, which was probably my best one, was an hour and 10.
Yeah.
Which, there are people obviously doing a lot better than that, but for me that was really, really good.
Yeah, that's a great
It was
job.
consistent running, like that no stopping type situation. So I was really proud of that. But I normally just do a 5K because it's a nice quick, 35 minutes and then I'm done. I'm trying to get under that 30 minutes. I'm like desperate.
And outdoor running or?
Outdoor. The treadmill, I can't stand the treadmill. I just get so bored.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just, I like the mixture of elevation and, the outdoors. I run along the water, so it's quite nice.
Good for your soul that way.
It is. There's more mental clarity. You're like, I got outside today, I got some sun. So it's always nice.
Yeah. And I think that's really important when you're thinking about all the things that you are balancing in life. It's kind of your time, your quiet time, doing something for you. So.
Exactly. And I just find, like, if I want to be my best self and my best version at work and my best version as a mother, like I need to fill my cup before I can, be 100% at anything else.
Absolutely. So, Kayla, going back to the work aspect then, you're obviously exposed to lots of advisors across Australia, being a BDM, and there are different advice service offerings that come with that and different investment philosophies, because not every financial advisor is the same different firms. Has this actually had an influence on how you manage your money, seeing different ways that you can do it?
Absolutely. I have a lot of exposure and I'm so passionate about the value of advice because I do see it on the day-to-day, and hearing stories about how advisors have changed people's lives, because and asking why advisors got into the industry and why you became a financial advisor, a lot of it comes down to I really wanted to help people, and you really do get to see that.
Do you have an advisor yourself?
I do. I did seek out an advisor. I was like, I talk about, super pension investments all the time. And I want to take control and have transparency over my money.
Yeah.
I'm also, a mother, and I was like, I got to take control of my financial future and the financial future of my children.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a really big driving force. And I saw what it was like for people who went through really big life moments without a financial advisor.
Yeah.
And without insurance. And you kind of see the devastation that can really bring about to a household. So it was really key for me to go, you know what? I don't want to wait till it's too late. But yeah, I'm really passionate about it. And I think, you know, I went through a big life event getting divorced, and it was empowering going, you know what? My finances aren't going to be too impacted by this because I have the right management in place, you know.
Yeah. And so because you get to see all of the different people that you can kind of choose to go with, and it is a lifelong relationship when you choose a financial advisor. So it is a big decision. What was it for you that made you go, no, this is a fit for me, this is the person I want to work with?
That's a really good question. I think it's a trust relationship. I don't necessarily think it's always going to be the first advisor that you meet. It may be that you need to just find the person that you click with, because they're going to be with you for the most vulnerable moments of your life.
Absolutely.
You know, like it's going to be, I just need to tell you that my husband and I are separating. It's a really difficult time, but I really appreciate you being able to be there to support us both through this. And, you know, so they're kind of the person you call in those, you know, or like health events and things like that. So you really got to find someone that you can build that strong trust relationship with. And I think that's not always going to be the first advisor or planner or, you know, that you meet, and that's okay. But I don't think, I think the message is just don't give up because you don't click with that one person.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like friends, right? So you're not
Absolutely.
going to be friends with everybody, and you know when it's right, and then, you know, you can make new friends in the future too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're working in that wealth management side of things. When you first started out your career now, so if we talk a little bit about investment platforms, because a big part of the wealth team is providing those services, you know, for financial advisors to have access to investments. So what do you see as the difference between when you first started and as a provider and where we are now?
It's a good question. I've been with Macquarie for 10 years this October, so I'm very excited.
Wow.
I know. So I've been able to see, you know, a lot of change. I think at the core, you know, when we think about the conversations we have back then and even today, it's about technology and efficiencies. That's the core purpose of a platform. And when I think of Macquarie, you know, it's about making deliberate decisions and considered investment into the technology and, you know, security to make sure clients have and advisors have access to the tools and resources that you need to, you know, build a scalable and, you know, efficient business that helps you service your clients.
Absolutely. And security is really important, right? Because I mean, as a paramount, this is people's money, this is their livelihoods. So
yeah, I don't think there could ever be enough emphasis on the importance of security. I think it's, you know, and security needs to be broken down to cybersecurity, secure investment, and also like compliance. You know, there's so many components to it.
And you would have seen a lot of change over 10 years in that space.
Absolutely. I think it's the role that we play needs to get, we need to make sure that what we provide you for your clients, like, you know, we'll talk about it a bit later, but the Macquarie Authenticator, you know, how does something, how can you implement things that prevent scams and frauds and as much as possible, like giving control but also putting something in place to make someone think, is this legit? Is this, you know, how do I take control of my financial future and have the services to do so?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So where do you see the platforms playing then, I guess, a bit of a bigger role into the future?
That's a great question. I think for me, it's all about a platform that's open, offers a whole of client view and provides flexible advice options. It's all, you know, when we talk about efficiencies, it's, you know, we want to look at how do you integrate, you know, like open data so that it's a sense of you go into Salesforce, for example, and you can open an account from Salesforce and it opens with a Macquarie bank account, you know, things like that. You know, how does API integration really set about with your business and build that efficiency there, so you know you're not double handling clients' information, you know, less keystroke requirement, less risk
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I think it's
And ultimately, that's going to be great for investors at the end of the day, right? Because if the more efficiently things can be done, the more secure that things can be done, the easier that process is, the more confidence they're going to have ultimately in the investments that they hold. And
absolutely.
And Macquarie are leading the way with that at the moment in the technology space and the security that you have.
I absolutely agree with that.
So, Kayla, what are some of the progressive technological, my goodness, what a word, advancements that you're seeing in the investment space, and how do they add value going into the future?
One of the key technological advancements I've seen is probably around that cloud-based technology. So when I think of Macquarie, 97% of Macquarie wrap is cloud-based.
Oh, yeah.
Now we think of the cloud, everyone's like, what is a cloud? But I kind of liken it to, photo storage. And, when you have a pet like a dog or kids, how that you take a lot of photos, obviously, and your space kind of gets taken up a lot. But then you do the upgraded package and then suddenly everything starts working a bit easier and everything's easier to access. And it's kind of like, with cloud-based technology, it's all about, we work and leverage world-class cloud providers such as Amazon and Google.
Yeah.
And, what that means is it can support rapid demand increases and our infrastructure can handle volume with little to no impact to advisors and clients. So, you don't get a spinning wheel. That's,
oh, goodness. Take me back to dial-up days.
Wheel, So it's all about, working fast and efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes when I log in and have a bit of a look at my banking statements and you see the amount of subscription you've got, and then you realise how many cloud subscriptions you've actually got these days, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Kayla, going back to a little bit more about your story and starting off with Macquarie, you've been there for 10 years. Where did you start in Macquarie? What was your first role there?
My first role was in service. I was on the phones team supporting our cash management account.
Yeah, okay.
So you would call through to Macquarie and there I was. I was one of the first tasks I had was calling people because we would get returned mail and making sure their contact details were up to date.
Wow. Okay. So you've done a lot of different things in Macquarie.
I have, yes.
Career-wise, you've obviously had a lot of successes over that 10 years too. So what advice would you give others wanting to succeed in the industry?
Oh, this is bespoke to everyone, I feel. But for me, I've taken an attitude of having a really curious mindset.
Yeah,
I think
I love that.
One of my favourite things is just talking to people. And that's what I do every day is I talk to people, whether it be, the advisors and CSOs out in market or it's internal stakeholders, right? I just talk to people. I think it's also really important to network. Sometimes that's really nerve-wracking, especially when you're new to it. But sometimes, just buddying up with someone just to help, make connections in the industry is really helpful. Taking opportunities as they arise. I think that's also really important as a woman in the industry, really grasping at opportunities where you can and
saying yes to podcasts.
But you've got to have a lot of accountability and integrity to be successful, I feel, because you're only as good as the last conversation you kind of had as well. And if you say you're going to do something, you got to do it, and you've got to do it with the utmost integrity because you're your own professional brand as well.
Yeah.
So it's I think they're just the mindsets I've really taken to my career so far.
Absolutely.
Mindset is definitely a huge part of anyone's success. I think oftentimes we think it's, some people can see a barrier and go, well, it's because of there wasn't the opportunity at this workplace or whatever that may be as to why people aren't getting the progression. But oftentimes when you actually look within, it's because you haven't actually positioned yourself in a way to be ready or available for something that might or may not be
and
there.
verbalising things.
And verbalising it.
Yeah. I remember when I decided I wanted to work in the sales-based environment, I actually caught up for coffee with the team leader and I said, how do I be you?
Yes.
And, I just had these monthly coffees and then they started like, oh, well, we'll come take you on the road and visit some clients and things like that. So it was kind of that walking the talk philosophy of, oh, you want to do it, you have to be it.
Yes.
And then it was kind of like when the opportunity presented itself, I was the
Ready.
first person that they thought of because I was already visible to them.
Yes.
You're almost planting the seed for them.
You need a new relationship manager.
I love that. Okay, so for our listeners out there, we've been talking a little bit about platforms today, right? And there's obviously lots of different ways that people can invest. An investment platform's one of those, or they can set up broking accounts or go directly, or, you know, there's so many different options. So why do you see that investors actually get to a position of needing to use a platform? What are the benefits?
It's, oh God, how long's a piece of string? I could probably talk all day about the benefits, but for me, what I see is it really comes down to, you know, we're talking a bit about before, is why did I seek a financial advisor? And I have my financial goals, and your clients obviously have their financial goals as well. And when you seek a financial advisor, they need to use something to help support their clients. And a wrap platform is there. It's a technology that gives you know, a client, through access of a financial advisor, access to investments, cash flow management, insurance, and essentially features and functionality to help achieve those financial goals.
So it wraps it all up, like you're saying.
It wraps it all up. You know, it gives access to, you know, wholesale investments, reporting, it's administration, it's all that kind of space. And where that's really important for a client is knowing that it's secure and it's, you know, you're not necessarily at risk of, you know, certain things that may come about if you were not using a financial advisor. You know, so I think it comes down to, you know, we focus on giving advisors and their clients an easy to navigate digital experience, and that makes life efficient, makes everything scalable. And
and I think that being a custodial service, it is such an important piece there, because like you say, end investors know at the end of the day that there's somebody that's looking out for their needs.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's there to support, whereas there's so much that's readily available, and it's marketed through social media and all of these kinds of things, and way too much scamming, in my opinion, of what can be suspect investment, you know, approaches. So definitely having someone that's, you know, got credit worthiness, got the security, and is playing that custodian service, I think is very important.
So thinking a little bit about in the realm of security and technology and all of those things, obviously you guys have that forefront of mind in everything that you do on the day to day.
Yes.
So you probably have lots of meetings and lots of training around all these things, but what can you tell our audience, you know, what are some of the tips around how do you keep your information safe and secure when you're using technology? Because there's so much hacking that takes place.
Remaining vigilant is the best thing you can do. It's been consistently vigilant as well. It's not a one-time thing. It's not like, oh, I read a scams page 2 years ago and this is what was happening. It's staying at the forefront of what's happening out in market. We as Macquarie have a dedicated security and scams hub, and I'd highly recommend, you know, if people are concerned, to visit that to see what's happening. I also think one of the key prevention methods is just pausing, having a thought. Absolutely. Is this legitimate?
Yeah.
And checking details, you know, the amount of times where it could just be call the registered number for the business you believe you're talking to and asking, is this a legitimate conversation?
Definitely.
Is this a legitimate text message? Is this a legitimate email? I think that just that pause sometimes, speaking to someone you trust and go, oh, I've just had this experience. What do you think, before you commit to things? But I think the best part about having a financial advisor is you do have that trust relationship, and you can ask them, oh, I've just received this. What do you think? You know, I think that can really help.
Definitely. Our clients I tend to find that the best method that we've ever found that our clients employ is they just ignore things. So I'm just going to ignore the email if I think it's suspect. I think that's a great tip for any investor or anybody out there. If something comes in and you have no idea what it is, just leave it alone. If it's very important, they'll get in touch with you.
Yeah, they'll call. So what people, if it's important, they'll call. Yeah. You know, that was always the method. But, you know, we're really strong on, you know, talking about the Macquarie Authenticator, and the reason we promote it so much is because we have an understanding of what's going on. You know, as a bank, we obviously see what happens to clients, and it's heartbreaking. There's no amount of, you know, whether it's $1 or however much it is, it's always heartbreaking for people to fall victim to scams and fraudulent activity. You know, the reason Authenticator is so powerful is it's loaded to a device, not a mobile number. So you're protecting against things like phone porting, and it also supports the client. You know, it's a push notification service to say, is that me logging in? Well, yes, I'm trying to log into my banking, so yes, it's me. But if it's not you, then it gives you pause and go, well, hang on, what's going on? Same with transacting. It's authorising transactions. So it's giving the client control and security over their banking.
And so there's a really good tip there for investors just in general, is that if you're using any kind of technology out there, if it doesn't have multi-factor authentications in place for a start in this day and age, wow, watch out. You know, that's probably the first step.
Yeah.
And then secondly, how do I get the ultimate level of protection there? Because as you say, things evolve so quickly that previously multi-factor authentications on SMS were the norm. And now they're doing away with that because hackers and scammers, they move so quickly and they become aware of these things and go, okay, we can now port phones and do all those kinds of things. So I think that's a very important one when you're protecting your money, whether it's your everyday banking account or whether it is an investing account or superannuation or legal documents that you're sending, you know, all of those things.
Yeah, well, SMS has been outdated as a secure verification method since around 2015.
Yeah.
So it's
we still know how commonly we see that.
It happens everywhere. So it's just staying at the forefront, remaining vigilant. You know, I highly recommend the Macquarie Authenticator. You'll hear me talk about it all the time. You're probably sick of it, but it's just so important, and I don't think we can just stress how important it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what's the biggest financial tip that you would give to your children, Kayla? Moving away from the security talk, let's go back to managing finance as well.
Yeah.
What would you say to your children to help them get ahead in life?
I think it's all about the ongoing conversations about money. It's not, a bit like the security piece, not a one-time piece. It's, money matters differently at different stages in life. I remember when I got my first paycheck and I was like, $600, that's so much money. But I had no financial responsibilities. So to me, it was a lot of money.
Absolutely.
But, when I think about them, it's like, all right, so when you get your first job, this is, the importance of saving. Obviously you want to have a life, so you're going to spend some, but, it's, you want to protect yourself from the moments that life can bring. And that's, so I think it's all about that continual conversation of, getting married costs money, buying a car costs money, responsibilities and things like that. So I think it's just educating them on the different phases of life and the different responsibilities life brings and where money gets involved. And I'd probably say they need to seek a financial advisor early. Don't wait until it's too late, because, your retirement, whilst it'll be faster approaching the older you get, ironically.
Yes.
But don't wait until you're thinking about retirement to have that conversation. Make sure that your financial future is always secured, no matter what age you are. And it's all about finding that trust relationship, I think, with a financial advisor and going from there.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely different for the next generation to come. There's more and more information readily available and a lot more that they have to prepare themselves for. So any pearls of wisdom that they get, let's hope they actually listen to us. Maybe they don't, but
that's right. I know. I feel like they're just going to be like, no, it's the bank of mum and dad. I'm like, I don't know if that exists anymore.
And we spoke about this before on the podcast, but they don't actually see money as in physical money anymore.
No.
We would have all grown up as physical money.
Yeah.
So the value that they have behind it is just different.
It's different.
I think that's so true.
It's not physical. So
yes, the kids actually love, because they're quite young, they love putting like coins in the money box. They find that joyful, and I'm like, I forget that you don't.
Yeah. We actually did an exercise at the weekend. We took our 3-year-old daughter to, it's a bit of an arts and crafts music festival thing. Anyway, there was going to be things there from stalls that she could buy. So we gave her $3. She was really pleased about. And out of all the things that she could buy, she wanted a chocolate cake, obviously, which was $1.50. And I thought, okay, yep, you can do this. You can have the cake. So and she paid for it. And I said, well, now you've only got this much left.
Yeah.
And it was just a really good exercise. It's probably the first time that we've done anything like that, where she's had physical money, learned how much it costs to buy something. She actually went back for the second chocolate cake.
I was going to say, did she get more?
That was the whole $3. Yeah. She had enough for both. But it was just interesting, that conversation around, well, you do realise after this, there's no more money left. So this is as far as it goes. And there's no more money coming. So if you want anything else, and I think it's just in those small conversations from young to get them to understand it doesn't just appear and have limits on it and realise it's an exchange.
That's right.
Yeah.
Leo got me on the weekend because we went out to the 𝐼𝒏𝒗𝒆𝒏𝒕 show out in the valley. We went to the show out there, and pretty much just because I like fudge and my husband likes jerky, and so we went and got that from there and had a little bit of a walk around. Anyway, but he and his friend are going to the local show tonight, and he has been doing jobs and getting money for it, and he has a card, and we do transfer of money that way for those bigger jobs, right? And because you need a lot of money to go to the show, he was very aware of the fact that he needed to do quite a few jobs for it. But he kept saying to me, "Mum, can you give me money in cash?" Because he knows to go to the show you need the money in cash because not all the vendors have the card that you can just tap or whatnot. And I was like, "No, you've got a card, mate. You can go get money out." I figured out why he was saying to me that he needed me to give him the cash. He's worked out that there's a transaction fee if he goes to certain ATMs, and he didn't want to pay it. I thought, oh, well, you're listening to something that I'm saying.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I always have to have, when you're like trying to get out the door in the morning and kids don't have any concept of time, especially, at 5 and 2. They have no idea that mummy has to be at a certain place at a certain time.
Yeah.
That's where bribery comes in.
literally. Yeah. But it's more so, it's like, well, mummy, why do you have to go to work? It's like, well, I go to work so I can buy you toys because my work pays me money. And then, that goes to your toy fund, which is ever growing. But it's, that conversation of money, money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah.
Mummy has to, go to work. And, now that Theo's in a school environment, he's seeing all different walks of life where some mummies don't work, some daddies don't work, like that.
Yeah.
That lifestyle difference.
Yes.
It's like, oh, but Thingamabobby's mum doesn't work. It's like, yes, and that's okay. But your mummy works, and so mummy has to be somewhere at a certain time. So we're trying to navigate the different households and what they look like, and families and what that looks like. So. Yeah, and money looks different in every household.
Yes,
I think it's...
And those conversations, it's so interesting to me because, you might have people that, they don't have to worry about money whatsoever, and they can, can give their children whatever they want.
Must be nice.
It must be nice. But you imagine, are there still conversations in those households oftentimes? Because what money habits is that teaching children if everything is accessible and money is no limit and no question, I think.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how much you've got or haven't got,
Yeah.
irrespective, those conversations are still really important.
And there's lots of stigmas around money too. So,
that's right.
we've had to have conversations at times to explain that, some people don't talk about money because, Leo asks, how much money do you make? And how much money is this worth? And, and people aren't going to tell you that, buddy. But, there's nothing wrong with it. There shouldn't be all these stigmas around it. But also having to explain to them that there's people have different financial situations and you've got to be aware of it because they might not feel comfortable to be able to talk about it. And
So really just starting the conversations with the kids is the first part, right?
Definitely.
Absolutely, yes. And the $5 pocket money might have to go up with inflation, apparently.
Yes. We can't go and say, well, we used to get $1. It doesn't work that way. We could also buy lollies for $1. And like you say, you only get a half a piece of cake, 2/3 of a piece of cake for that.
What do kids get for tooth fairies nowadays?
I have no idea. It must be notes because where do you get coins these days?
Well, we do. We know that the Tooth Fairies come to us and has provided coins, but the Tooth Fairies also provided a note once because Leo had a traumatic event with one of his teeth, and so the Tooth Fairy rewarded him with a note.
Right,
but then
okay.
it did lead me to think and go, I wonder how much Tooth Fairies is actually bringing to different
I'm just
kids.
thinking it's going to come for me at some point for the children. I'm thinking, what bar do you set? Because you got to keep going with that.
Yeah, because it adds up because there's a lot of teeth that they lose.
Yeah, it's not just a couple, I suppose. Well, anyways, we might wrap up there for today because we could sit here for hours and hear the stories all about you, Kayla. So thank you very much for sharing with us. And hopefully for our listeners, there's been some interesting facts that they've been able to learn there about security around money, the different ways that you can be thinking about your financial future and how to bring that through for the next generation, and also drawing out some of those successes and reinvesting back in yourself and your own branding, which I think was a key theme that I loved hearing from you, Kayla. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciated it.
You can come back anytime. And for our listeners, don't forget to like, subscribe and share content. If you do have any other questions that you'd like for us to ask of Kayla or of any of our other guests over time, please share them and we'll join you next time on Wealth Experience. The opinions of the presenters are objectively ascertainable and are not intended to be financial product or personal advice.